Happy Sunday, everybody. And for Canadians, happy Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, welcome to Ignite Your Life podcast, Ignite Your Life with Rick and Shashi. And today, exciting topic, we will be talking about commitment. So yes, last week we started off, we had our inaugural podcast and we talked about making the decision, making the decision to have connected relationships. And so this week we want to talk about commitment, because once you make a decision, you have to commit on that decision.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about commitment today, and we're going to talk about what does it take to hold on to that commitment. So when we commit to something, we're basically making a promise to ourselves and to others who are implicated that we are going to do something and continue to do something. And in that commitment, we make certain agreements with ourselves and with the person we're making a commitment to. And we do this in life all over the place. Like Shashi, makes a commitment to her fitness, right? And once she commits to something, there's no stopping her. No matter what the circumstances are, she's out there. She's going to go follow through with that commitment, no matter what. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
Commitment.
So if I decide I'm going to do something, like I will schedule some sort of fitness activity, whether it's a running clinic, whether it's a gym membership, whether it's just time that I'm going to take for myself to work out. And I will make sure it's scheduled into my calendar, just like anything else is, just like a doctor's appointment is scheduled. So it's become so second nature. It's become such a habit that I don't even need to have this in my calendar. Now it's just in my mind. And if I don't do it, I feel bad. I feel guilty. I feel that I'm missing something. I know I'm not in my peak state if I haven't incorporated that into my day. Like, it's just become such a second nature because I made the decision that fitness and health was a priority for me, because I can be more for other people when I've looked after myself and my own needs and my health. Because if I'm not, if I haven't worked out, like my whole mental state is down, my energy level's down physically, and I'm not bringing my best, the best version of me into my relationships, into my friendships, into the people I work with, to my children. I'm not bringing them all of me if I haven't raised my own state through my exercise. And it's also my mindset. So commitment is all about, when you say you're going to do something, when you say it, you don't let yourself down. Because I know that if I don't follow through and I don't say what I'm going to do, it's me that suffers, and me that feels the lack of confidence and feels bad about myself. So the way that I make sure I do it is I visualize success. So if I know in the morning I'm planning, I'm going to wake up for a 5:30 a.m. or a 6 a.m. workout, or a run, or go to a fitness class, I visualize myself the night before getting up, getting out of bed, getting my workout gear, and how I'm going to feel after. And I actually go through with the whole process in my mind. But yeah, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to feel like staying in bed. But if I stay in bed an hour later, I'm going to feel like crap and be like, oh my gosh, I stayed in bed when I should have gone for the workout, versus going for the workout and coming through the back door and being pumped, and then going into the shower.
Absolutely. And it's a part of that's a mental practice as well, right? So, hey, Barbara, thanks for getting on and watching. I wanted to add on to what Shashi was saying. So I'll take, what she's talked about, commitment and to yourself and working out. So now put that in the vehicle of a relationship. What happens when you don't follow through on your commitment? So now you're not only letting yourself down, you're letting the person you're in the relationship with down. And what comes up for both people in these moments? I know for a lot of times for Sashi, if I don't keep my commitment for something, it starts to make her feel unsafe. And when there's not that safety isn't there, that place where she can't rely on something to be done as promised, the relationship deteriorates. The feelings inside and the safety in the relationship and the openness that comes from being committed and following through on your commitment gets really gets deteriorated at this point. So Sashi talked about mental practice. That's part of the commitment in relationship as well. So in the mornings, I know when I wake up, I'm already thinking about mentally. I'm practicing what my day is going to look like, what my relationship is going to look like today. And after you do that for long enough, it actually becomes habitual. And so you're planning your mental practice and then your physical execution of that, just like with anything. Anyone has a goal, you mentally practice. Like if you're a sports basketball player or something like that, you mentally practice, you physically execute, and you master it. It's the same thing with relationships, right? And you want to say anything about that as far as commitment and practicing, mentally practicing and physically executing?
Yeah, so the commitment that comes with the relationship is once you decide that you're going to be in a relationship and you are going to be in a committed relationship, then your focus 100% goes towards creating that stellar relationship. And
the habits.
Yeah, and it takes some checking in. So in any area of life, whether it's health, relationships, finances, business, we can do a little checkpoint, like on a 1 to 10 scale. How would I rate myself in my relationships right now? Like, so we'll take relationships, and like, how would I rate my relationship? Like, am I feeling it's a 10 out of 10, and like I'm on top of the world and feeling like, pure love and giving pure love in that relationship? Is that where I'm at? A 10 out of 10 state, or is that more like a 5 out of 10 where, yeah, it's okay, we're not fighting too much, but there's not like this bond and this connection? Taking an inventory of where we're at, because awareness is half of the solution. So once we take inventory of like, okay, how did I do today at the end of the day? Like, where could I improve? How could things be a little bit closer? What could I do differently to make my partner, make my significant other feel better, feel more validated, feel more loved? Are there things I could be doing? And then the next day implement those things. Like, it's just kind of like being the awareness, because it's so easy to fall into habits and habitual, and that our thoughts take us away and spiral, and then start, they can go in a negative spiral if we start doing things like counting, like who did what, or I did the dishes last time, and like, how come it's always me? Or those kinds of thoughts can spiral very quickly. So when you take inventory on a daily or weekly or even a monthly basis of where are things at, like, how would you rate your relationship, and how would you rate yourself in terms of what are you giving in that relationship? That's what I would say is like, can give you an assessment of how committed you are and how much you're focusing on it.
Yeah, great. It's taking stock. It's really important. And one thing Sashi said there about old habits or conditioning, we're all conditioned to be a certain way. It happens from, the moment we're born, maybe even before that. we start to get programmed, and especially between the ages of 0 and 7, most of our programming is set. Hey, Storm, great to see you.
Hi, Storm. That's awesome that you're a 10 in optimism. Wow, that's in your relationship, I'm guessing.
And so we do have this, programming that we pick up as children, and then we go through the rest of our life with this set of programming. And as adults, we try and change this programming, and that's when Sashi was talking about. Sometimes we get into these old habits or whatever, and what commitment really is, in a nutshell, is promising ourselves something, forming new habits, and then committing to keep them.
Yeah.
And the habit forming process isn't difficult. It can be, but it's simple. You repeat, right? Like you do take the same thing. I'll give you one. Give me one step. You take one action that you want to take, and you do it every day, no matter what.
Right. So like in the case of business, like, and Storm, I know that you're new with us in the business. So in the beginning, it's very, very, very important to set up good habits, because this is all brand new. Like, when you start in a business, there's no structure. No one's telling you. It's not like a job where you have to get X, Y, Z done by the end of the day. And if you don't do it, your boss is going to come and get mad at you. That doesn't work in this business, because it's all up to you. So it's so easy to like think that you're working and think you're doing something but if it's not contributing to creating revenue, then it's, maybe something that you shouldn't be doing, right? And in our business,
or you tweak some.
It's in our business, it's all about creating relationships and meeting new people and building trust, and then exposing people to some sort of solution to a problem that they're currently having. So that requires a lot of coaching with that person, and a lot of uncovering and developing a trust, and then asking questions to finding out what truly is motivating that person and what truly they want in their life, so that we can give them some sort of solution. So it's like coming back down to commitment, even when it gets hard, like with commitment, even when it gets hard, that's when you get tested. And that's when you get to decide, like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And commitment is when even when you get to, so in a case, I'm a runner, I get to a hill that's like this, and am I going to give up, or am I going to keep inching up as slow and keep going and keep going and keep going, get to the top and be like, whoa, I did it, it was so hard? Or am I just gonna like have a day where I'm like, oh, forget it, I can't do it, and give up? And how am I gonna feel about myself, right? So, and it's the same with the business. When the going gets tough and 10 people are saying no to you in a day, do you keep going? Do you keep going? And do you go with the same energy and the same enthusiasm and the same light that shines from within you? Or do you give up and be like, oh, they said no and I suck and I'm bad and forget it, I'm going to throw it away?
Exactly. Hey, Deborah, Sashi and I are talking about commitment, and just forming, we're talking about what it takes to be committed in a relationship, or to a business, or to an activity, to your health and your wellness. And we're talking about forming good habits. And we're talking about the programming around how we can actually start to program ourselves to have these good habits, especially in relationship. Like, for an example, I'll give you a habit that I created, and it became, I repeated it every day, regardless of how I was feeling. I just knew that, like, this action, I had to perform this action. So I wake up in the morning, I do my meditation, and once my morning routine is done, I come downstairs, and Sashi's already up and working, or in the home office, and I come in and I give her a hug, and we connect, and we talk about how we're feeling, what our day is going to look like. And all of this, like, it's just normal. Like, it's just programmed now. I come downstairs, I come into the office, and I give her a hug, and I'm not even thinking about it anymore. It's just, yeah, Brent, Deborah, it's developing good discipline. I don't think about it anymore. I'm programmed to do that now, and or I programmed myself to do that now. So that's one of the habits that we've created that really has made our relationship flourish, and we've really started to connect. We connect most of the time, but this is a moment in the day where it just starts off our day on the right foot. No matter what's going on in our lives, this action happens.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to, the core of our relationship and what we want to create. And that's, forming, that's the actions of forming a good habit and then repeating the action until it becomes programmed.
Yeah, and then you don't even think about it. It just becomes second nature. But that whole thing about developing good discipline, yeah, it kind of stems from like, how are you feeling? I know, like, before I started getting into like a regular running schedule and so forth, I wasn't feeling good. I was on the couch a lot of the time with my family and not feeling good about myself. I was feeling like unfulfilled. I was feeling like by the end of the day, I felt like I didn't feel I had used my potential. So I once I joined a running clinic and started getting out there, it put me in the company of people that were succeeding. And when you do that, even with business, with health, with relationships, when you put yourself in the company of people that are succeeding, that have the life that you want or have the thing that you want, and put yourself around those people, because you will, by second nature, you will become like them. And the opposite is true too. The people that you're surrounding yourself with, if they're not going for their dreams, if they don't have good discipline, and they don't,
or in a relationship, if they're calling their wife, oh, the old ball and chain, which we hear a lot, but people are doing this on autopilot a lot of times. They're not actually even thinking about what they're saying. And so it's interesting. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's interesting when you do hang out with people, who are sort of on autopilot and sometimes in a negative way, say something. Like I often like say something so they sort of wake up and realize what they're saying is like on autopilot. Yeah, someone, hey, how you doing? And they, oh, surviving. And then it's like, what? Come on, man, you got to be doing more than that, right? And they sort of snap out of it, and it's like, oh yeah, actually, I'm not just surviving.
They're not really conscious.
Yeah. And so either do that or find another group of people to hang out with.
Yeah, and I that was going to be my point, is like, to be the people that you surround yourself with are the people that you become like. So when you are like, so in the case of when I took myself out of the group of people that I was not wanting to become like, and put myself in the company of the people I was inspired by, because they were happy, they were out having a good time, they were running, they were going for goals, that shift was huge. And the same thing with my business. When I took myself, like, I wasn't feeling fulfilled in life. I knew I wanted to have some sort of business. I didn't know what kind of business it was. But when I put myself in the company of people, when we went to this conference down in Utah, I put myself in the company of these people and these business owners, and they were so passionate, and they have this glowing skin and this glowing hair, and they were just really going for like big amounts of money and income, and then using that money to better the world and better, like, improve their families' lives and improve other people's lives because they now have the means to do so. And I was just so inspired by that because I don't see that in my typical corporate job. I don't see people super excited, just really, really excited. So when I saw that kind of passion, I wanted to put myself in the company of those kinds of people. So that's why I joined the business. And it makes a very big difference, like the way the people that you surround yourself with, you will become like them. And you want to be around people that you believe in you and believe that you can do, almost like drawing out the best in you. You want to be around people like that. Because if you're around people that are, constantly putting you down or blocking you or judging you, it won't allow you to grow and develop and shine your light. And we're only on this earth for a fixed amount of time. Like there's, like our timeline is like this. So what do we want to do in the time we're there? Do we want to give all of our potential and use all of our gifts and better the world and have relationships with people all over the world? And like, what kind of life? Because it's up to us to create the life that we want, the life. And so much comes back down to the commitment that, like, are we committed to using all of our potential? Are we committed to having the best life that we can? Do we want a 10 out of 10 life? Or do we want to settle for a 5 out of 10?
Yeah, absolutely. So to summarize, we talked about commitment this week. Last week we talked about making the decision. So once you've made the decision, now you need to commit to whatever that you're setting your goal to. And then if it's in relationship, then you want to commit to the habits that are going to create a good relationship. So we've made the decision. We want to make the commitment. What does commitment mean? It means we decide, we make an agreement with ourselves or with a partner, or to commit to ourselves or to something that we're going to provide X, Y, Z. We're gonna do this for ourselves or for this other person. Next, we're going to form the habits around that are going to help us be successful keeping that commitment. And if it means not avoid going to places, it might, you might have to do that. If it means, getting uncomfortable and meeting new people or trying new things, you're going to have to do that. But when you start to do that, that's where habits start to form. And when you do get uncomfortable and you have success, that feeling is incredible. And so it's the rewards that really keep us in the commitment.
Yes. And I was going to also say, like, part of that is feeling uncomfortable. And then, even when you feel those feelings of being uncomfortable and being nervous and being like scared, continue to do it, because it's that feeling of being nervous and being scared that is the same spectrum of being excited and growing. So, you will never grow if you don't go through those feelings of the butterflies and feeling nervous and feeling, I was getting so addicted to that feeling that when I don't feel it, I'm feeling like, oh my God, something's wrong. I'm just stagnant, and then I start to feel like I'm slowly dying. I get restless. I feel like I'm dying. I feel like, oh my God, because progress, life is about progress and growth. And when we feel like we're growing and we're progressing, it makes us passionate and we get excited. But when we don't have those feelings of passion and we don't have those feelings of feeling nervousness and the feeling, we start to get numb and it's feelings of just being comfortable. And that you probably have somewhere else that some other fear that you have, and go for that, find that fear, like the thing that you're scared of, and conquer it, because it feels amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the success feeling is what we're after. And that's going to help us to keep our commitment. Deborah, thank you so much for your comments. Love you. So we want to close it off. Form those habits that will make you successful, and repeat, and it becomes programmed. Like the story I shared with you earlier when Shashi and I connect. If I don't do that, it feels like I didn't brush my teeth. Like that's how programmed I am to do that, and that's how it's part of my life. And if I don't do it, it's like that, like I didn't brush my teeth or something I've been doing like forever. You know, life doesn't feel right. So those are the habits you want to form when it comes to anything you're committing to, and especially in relationships, because those small little things make a huge difference.
Yes, and once you get one thing conquered, then add another good habit, and then add another good habit, and before you know it, you've kept stacking all of these good habits, and you're just on the road for success. Look at what billionaires are doing. Look at what their success habits are. I'm not talking about billionaires that got handed down wealth. I'm talking about billionaires that were just started with nothing and became billionaires. And it's a success mindset. And that's, comes from commitment. It comes from hard work. It comes from discipline. So we can all have the capability of getting there.
Yeah. So, and you don't only have to look at billionaires, look at anyone who's successful, anyone whose life you want, look at them and look at the habits that they formed and what they've created.
Billionaires, like it could be money wise, but a billionaire in the athletic world is an Olympic athlete. Like that's the billionaire of athleticism,
absolutely,
of health. And relationships, I look at Tony Robbins and Sage, they have a billionaire relationship. They're just complete soulmates, right? So there's different success for each one of those things. There's a person that has true success in what it is, and it comes from those things. It comes from the daily habits. It comes from creating new daily habits that are going to set them up for success. And the Olympic athlete, they're at it like 8-10 hours a day. They're eating the right foods. They're training, like they're putting their bodies, taking it further and further and further, like a little bit more every single day. It doesn't come from just 10 minutes of stretching. it's like really true commitment to keep pushing themselves out of their comfort zone. So that's what I meant by billionaire, not just it can be in a monetary wise for business, or it can be like the Olympic athlete for health, but it's like the person that has pushed themselves and achieved the maximum potential for themselves.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Glad you were here this week, and we'll see everyone again next week. Next week, we are talking about knowing your partner's story. So that's going to be an interesting one. So that's going to be dedicated to being in relationship with somebody and knowing their story and how important that really is to really truly understand the relationship dynamics between two people. So,
so bring your partners.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.
Happy Sunday.